Since you liked my coding tutorial and my indicator video the most, I'll show you how you can get them both together to make them work for you. PineScript is the most used coding language in trading matters, and will make it very easy for you to create your own indicators, backtest your strategies, or even create your own trading bot. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. To start coding, we first need to go to TradingView.com. I'll leave a link in the description, and once you got on your desired chart, we open this window down there that says Pine Editor. This is where we write the code and you'll get the output on the chart. So if I, for example, write that it should show me the 200 moving average, it will show it me on the chart. Or if I write all of this, it will give me a powerful price prediction indicator, which you can get through the link in the description. So let's start from the beginning. PineScript is based on the coding language Python, so if you know it already, you have a slight advantage. If you opened your Pine editor for the first time, it'll probably look something like that. Actually, you can remove the first 2 lines because they're only for copyright purposes there and won't affect the indicator. Everything you write in a line after 2 slashes will be gray and means it's going to be ignored. This is practical if you want to write notes and descriptions in your code or leave out some things. So now in the first line, there should be the version. We're always using version 5 since it's the newest one. And then in the second line comes the title of the indicator you're using. There are also strategies which we are going to look at later in the video. Then we also write overlay and equals true, which will make the indicator visible directly on the chart. If this is set to false, you get a separate window below the chart like an ATR. In PineScript, we always separate different arguments with commas. Okay, let's now code our first moving average. For that, we give the moving average a name, let's say MA1 for short, and then an equal sign, which will give the variable MA1 the value of the following argument. For this argument, we write TA.SMA and then brackets. This is the function for the simple moving average. But to specify the characteristics of the moving average, we write in the brackets its source, which is the close, and also its length, let's say 200. Now if you try to run the code, for that you just click on the Add to Chart button, you'll see an error message in the console. To open or close it, you simply have to click on this little icon. The console is where you see error messages, possible improvements, and the indicator state. For example, if it's reading it, or if it has been saved. So back to our indicator, where's the problem? The problem is that we only gave the variable a value but didn't do anything with it. To get it onto the chart, we need to write a plot function first. So we write plot, and in brackets, you can write any number, for example 1, and you'll see a black line on the chart at the $1 price level. By the way, plot is a function. You can see that it's a function because it has 2 brackets at the end. And functions can do anything from detecting and searching a price or condition to plotting things on the chart. And these functions will change based on the inputs in the brackets. There are a lot of different functions in PineScript like plot shape, ta.barssince, or strategy.entry, and a lot more we're going to cover in this video, so stay tuned until the end. But back to our moving average. In this case, we want it to be our moving average, so we write MA1. Now we can even change the color by writing color equals color.red. And there are more colors than just red. You can just use blue, green, purple, or whatever you want. And you can also change the thickness with line width, and then equals, and your desired size. Now let me show you some helpful settings. If you click here on these 3 dots and then click on Editor Settings, you see that you have Autocomplete on, which will give you suggestions during coding. We will look at that in a second. And if you want, you can change the other settings to your desires. So back to the characteristic of the moving average, when writing, for example, style and then equals, you should see this window pop up to give you suggestions on what you might want to write. For example, type in plot.style_circles, and you'll get the moving average in circles. But how do we get an indicator off of this? And how will we be able to backtest and make a strategy with it? If you want to know, keep watching because you don't want to miss out on this. So let's say we want the indicator to display a buy signal if the 50 moving average crosses the 200 moving average to the upside, and show a sell signal if the 50 moving crosses to the downside of the 200 moving average. So basically, it's a trend reversal indicator, and later we're going to make a strategy off of it to see how it'll perform. We first start by adding a new moving average. For that, we can just copy our existing one and simply change its name, its length, and also its color, so you won't confuse it with the other moving averages on the chart. To make the buy signal, we just give it a name, let's say buy, and then define it. For that, we write an equal sign and then the value you want to give the variable. In this case, it will be just true or false if the following condition is true. So if you didn't quite get it, let's make an example and say buy is true when price is over 1.1. So as long as the close of a candle is over 1.1, buy is set to true, and else it will be just false. Now let's apply this to our indicator. Buy is going to be true if the function TA.crossover is true. And in brackets, we write the two values that cross each other. The first value is the one that will cross the second one to the upside. So in our case, it will be first the 50 moving average and then the 200 moving average. So the function will be true, and therefore also our variable buy if the 50 moving average crosses the 200 moving average to the upside. Now we can just repeat the same with a sell signal. It's basically the same as the buy signal. You just write sell equals and then TA.crossunder. And in the brackets, you write again MA1 and MA2. And again, if you will run the code now, it won't plot any buy or sell signals. For that, we need to use the function plot shape, which will plot any shape on your chart. In the brackets, we first write the condition that is either true or false to have the shapes get plotted. For that, we can just insert our buy variable, and then we need to define what shape the signal should have. For that, we simply define the input style equals, and then any shape of the listed, I'm just going to use shape.triangle up. Then we can also say if the shape should be over or under the price with location equals location dot above bar or below bar, and to further differentiate it from the bearish signal, you can set the color with color equals color.green. There are a lot different ways to set the color, for example, with color.new or color.rgb, but these are advanced options. And last but not least, we need to define the size of the shape. For that, we just write size equals size.small. And yes, there are more sizes like tiny, normal, big, or even huge. If you want to see all available options of an input, just start writing it, and a window with suggestions will pop up automatically. Now click on Update on Chart, and you should now see green triangles on the chart wherever the 50 moving average crossed the 200 moving average to the upside. Keep watching until the end, because we'll learn a lot more. Also, if you're interested in more of my indicators, go check out the links in the description. Now back to PineScript. I'd recommend fully opening the Pine Editor window while coding something. For that, just click here. And for checking the code while looking at the chart, just click here again. And to fully close it again, click here. Now let's do the bearish signals by changing some things in the copy of the bullish plot shape. We first use our sell condition and use shape.triangle down and location dot above bar. And finally, we replace the color green with red. And if you now update on the chart, you should additionally see the red triangles facing down whenever the 50 moving average crosses the 200 moving average to the downside. Congratulations, you now made your first indicator and you can change it in all your favors. Now it's your turn. Try to use two different EMAs, a red one with the length of 50 and a green one with the length of 20. Also, try to change the shapes of the signals to labels. Can you do that? If yes, pause the video and try it yourself. At the end, the chart should look something like this, and you already made your first scalping indicator. If you'll look at each individual signal, you'll see that about half of them are giving some quite decent predictions, and the other half of them are absolutely useless. But don't worry, I know exactly how to fix this and make them way more accurate. Just go check out my link in the description and get yourself one of my personal indicators that deliver you some actual results. But back to the indicator. We really want to know how it performed and how much money we would have made off of it if we would have actually traded with it. So let's make it trade for us and show us this nice curve and stats that will show us its past performance. We first got to change the indicator in the title line to strategy. Now PineScript knows that it has to activate its strategy tester, which we're going to use very soon. Next up, we write when the strategy should enter a long or short position. For that, we write another function, strategy.entry. This function will simulate a trade for us in the past, but you can also use it to give you real-time orders that can be automatically executed by your broker. Watch my other video on full automation of your PineScript strategy by using Trade Adapter. As first input, we write the ID of the order. The ID of an order is basically its name you'll see on the chart, and also how you can refer back to it. For example, we'll be using the ID again when we're going to code the closing of a position. I'm just going to name it long, and then we define if it's a long or short entry. In this case, we write strategy.long. And last but not least, we define the size of our position, which can be made in a few different ways. For example, by just giving the number of assets you want to buy, or in our case, we just want it to be all we have in our account. So we just write strategy.equity. You'll see later how this affects our backtesting. But what exactly is strategy.equity? Actually, it doesn't have a value yet. We first need to define it in the title line. We just write a comma after the overlay definition and write initial capital equals. And then whatever you want your virtual account size to be, I'd recommend $100 so you can better see the percentage you gained or lost. And the cool thing with strategy.equity is that this will enable exponential growth, because if the account grows, your profits also do so. Now, if we'd run this code now, it would take trades at every single candle, but we don't want that. We want it to only take trades if buy is true. So we now write in the line before the strategy.entry an if statement, if buy. And to make sure the strategy.entry belongs to the if statement above, we move this line 4 spaces or just 1 tab to the right. Now we got a conditional block. If you're a coder, you'll use these blocks a lot. At the beginning, you write a line with something that can be either true or false, and you want the following code to be executed only if the condition above is true. So we move it a bit to the right to tell PineScript that the condition and code belong together. Now we've only made the code open a position, but it doesn't close any positions yet. For closing the open positions, we can use either a strategy.close or strategy.exit. For now, we're just going to use strategy.exit because it enables us to set a stop loss and a take profit directly in the function. So first, we write the ID of the order we used in the strategy.entry from before, so PineScript knows it should exit the position with the ID long. Now let's define the stop loss and take profit. For the stop loss, we use the input stop equals and then you can just write a price where it should close the position when price hits this price level. For example, if you want the stop loss to be 10 pips, you write close minus 0.001. This will set the close 10 pips below the close of the bar you entered your position. Remember that 1 pip is 0.001. Now you can do a similar calculation for the take profit, for which we use the input limit equals close and then plus the amount in pips you want your take profit to be. I'm just going to set it to 20 pips. And now you should see on the chart that whenever a bullish signal was plotted, a position has also been opened and was either sold at the stop loss or take profit. Now comes the coolest part. If you now click on Strategy Tester on the right side of the Pine editor, you get to see all the important analytics, for example, how many % it would have generated you, how many times the trade was a win, or what the profit factor and maximum drawdown are. And right below, you see the equity line, where you can see how much money you had in your account after each trade. But that's just the results of the long trades. Let's now set up the short trades. And again, you just have to copy the long trades and change a few things. Replace the ID to short and also the strategy.long to strategy.short since we want to go short. Now we only have to change some few inputs in the strategy.exit function. We change the ID to short, and we basically just swap the values of the stop and limit since in short trades we want the stop loss to be over the close. If you now run the code, you'll see all the results if you would have traded this strategy with that stop loss and take profit. We'll get back to them in a second, and we'll also see how we can optimize our strategy and how we can change the inputs more easily. But if you'll look at the chart, you'll probably notice something strange. It's that it takes trades, even though it has already open positions. To fix this issue, we can go back the if by and add an additional condition that checks if there are no open trades currently. To add a new condition, we simply write and you can give a second condition that has to be true in order to let the following block be executed. And that would be strategy.openTrades, which will get us the number of the current open trades. And then we write two equal signs, followed by a 0. Why are we using two equal signs? Because one equal sign is only for definitions when we want to give a variable a value. But two equal signs are for asking if some value is the same as the other value. In this case, it asks if the open trades amount is as much as 0. And by the way, there are more ways to check the states of variables. You could also use OR, which will execute the code in the block if only one of the conditions is true. So if you now check the chart, you can see that we fixed this problem. Now, if you have tried to test different values for the stop losses to see which one would give you the biggest results, you'd quickly run into a problem. You have to change every single value of the limit and stop variables when you want to try out a new one. As solution, we are going to use input variables which can directly be changed in the indicator's settings. To define them, you just write a name you want to give your stop loss. I'll just use stop_loss. And then we don't just define it through a number, but through a function whose inputs you can change in the settings. This would be input. And in the bracket, you write the default value you want to give your stop loss. Now, just do the same with your take profit by giving it another name and value than the stop loss. And last but not least, don't forget to replace the values in the exit functions with these input variables. And now you can backtest your strategy way faster. Now let's change the values so they're actually in pips, and for that we just have to do very little math in the strategy.exit function. For that we just put brackets around the variables and multiply them by 0.001, the value of a pip. And if you now change them now in the settings, you don't have to deal with any off these low numbers. Now what if we don't want to always write these calculations every time we want to set a stop loss? For that, we'll have to learn 3 new major things. First, remove the brackets and calculations we added beforehand, but don't worry, we'll just use them more efficiently. To change the stop loss variable, we can just rewrite its value. For that we use a colon and an equal sign together. This shows that we're not defining a new variable, but just rewriting its value. It's also what we use in the blocks to redefine the value of a variable. So after this sign, we write the new values we want to give the stop loss and take profit, and then try to update this on the chart. But this won't work, and you can even see where the mistake is. You just look out for the red underlined code, or you look at the console where everything is explained in detail. You see exactly in which line and column the error appeared and what it was. It says that you cannot assign a float value to a variable with an int value. What is a float and an int? Float stands for numbers that require decimals to express, for example, 0.5 or a price in pips. Int stands for integer and just stands for whole numbers below and above 0. So how do we fix the problem? We simply define stop loss and take profit as float values. For that we just write var float before each variable. The var float lets PineScript know that we're actually dealing with a variable of the type float. But what happens when we update this on the chart? It won't work at all. It takes trades, but the trades don't make profit or loss, they just right away close at the entry. Now where's the problem again? It's all a matter of the number of executions the code does. This is a very important thing about Pine script. The code you write into the Pine editor gets executed at every single candle you see on the chart. So it starts calculating the conditions, variables, and etc. on the first bar on the chart, and does all that, again, on the second bar and so on. So what happens with the redefinition if we execute it on every single bar? It always gets multiplied by 0.001, which will lead to an exponential small number. But we want this particular code only to be executed once. So for example, if Pine script is calculating the first bar on the chart, for that, we just move the two redefinitions into a conditional block with the condition being if bar state is first. This condition checks if Pine script is calculating the first bar, and there also is a condition bar state is last, which we use when we want Pine script to calculate something on the last bar, for example, how much price has gone up since the beginning of the chart, which it can only know because it has calculated every single bar since. The most optimal way to code this would have been with just directly multiplying the value in the definition, but we therefore learned a lot of new things. Okay, that was a lot of information at once, so let's summarize everything we learned in this video and what we got as a result. We learned every basic aspect of the trading coding language Pine script, how to code indicators and strategies that automatically backtest themselves, how to code and plot different things on the chart, and how to calculate, analyze, and debug your own code. Learning how to code and learning more of Pine script takes a lot of time. But don't worry, I already spent this time for you and made you a set of indicators and strategies you can start using right now without any knowledge of coding. I definitely recommend to you the volume shift precision indicator, which is my most precise and best indicator so far, and you'll additionally get all my other indicators for free as a bonus. And additionally, you'll also get every single indicator or strategy I publish in the future, so you actually save a lot of money. And last but not least, go check out my Discord to get more discounts on my indicators and be able to talk to me for free and other traders out there. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to not miss out on new trading lessons, and see you in the next video.